Hello, and welcome back to the Atlas Agency's continuing investigation of the Path to Carcosa cycle for Arkham Horror the card game. I'm your host, Brandon. In this video, I'll be talking about my first impressions of the scenario The Pallid Mask from the Path to Carcosa's 4th Mythos Pack. So the Pallid Mask is set in the underground catacombs beneath the city of Paris. I've said this before, but I think this is a great real-world setting to use for an Arkham adventure. Just a little background information on these catacombs. So back in the late 1700s, the communal cemeteries in Paris had gotten so full that they were starting to pose a safety hazard. In order to combat these overflowing cemeteries, the city started relocating bodies from the cemeteries into a small part of the tunnel network that ran beneath the city. These were pre-existing tunnels that were originally created by some stone mining. Over a period of 2 years, they moved the remains of about 6 million people out of the cemeteries and into the catacombs. Today, these catacombs are open to visitors as a museum. I understand it's a pretty popular attraction, usually with a pretty long line if you want to get in, as they only let so many people down there at a time. I think it's capped at something like 200 people. So thanks to the Pallid Mask, though, we Arkham players get to skip these lines entirely. We can enjoy these catacombs right from the comfort of our own kitchen tables. This scenario has a really strong core hook that involves the way its locations work. It's an exploration-style scenario where you begin with just a small number of locations in play, and as you progress, you'll discover more. Instead of using the usual Arkham symbol-based system to show which locations are connected to each other, in the Pallid Mask, each location is connected to the locations that are physically adjacent to it, either below, above, to the left, or to the right. And whenever you reveal any location for the first time, you'll be instructed to add new unrevealed locations next to it on specific sides. So you have a dynamic map that grows over the course of the scenario, and that's the core gameplay feature that the scenario is based on. So I really enjoyed this scenario. I think it's a great design. It's definitely in my top 3 for the Carcosa campaign so far, and I think if I had to play any Carcosa scenario as a standalone experience outside the context of a campaign, then this would probably be my top choice at this point. I've already said that I really like the setting. I think it's well matched to this exploration mechanic. The exploration thing I think works really well as a scenario hook. It looked cool in the preview article, and I'm happy to say that in play it lived up to my expectations. I like the variety that it adds to the scenario. You can end up building out into some different shapes, and odds are you won't have the same layout more than once. It also creates this really nice tactical element as you try to push the development of the map into patterns that are going to help you out. The only downside is that every now and then, if the map grows in an inconvenient direction, like say into my investigator's play area, then I end up having to stop and shift cards around on the table to rework the space. It's not a big deal, just a minor annoyance. I think the scenario offers the players some interesting decisions to make during play. It felt to me like it was maybe a little more tactical than the average scenario. Some of the decisions are created by that location system, but there are also some really good enemies and treacheries in here as well that can lead to some interesting situations. The one negative I have on this scenario is that after the previous scenario, A Phantom of Truth, had started to finally pay off on one of the main Carcosa campaign elements. Unfortunately, the Pallid Mask backslides in that area. I'd said Phantom switched the campaign from setup to payoff, but now in the Pallid Mask we seem to have returned to setup again. So that's a disappointment, at least to me. My preference is always for bolder effects from those campaign elements. I think that's going to put a little more pressure on these last 2 Carcosa scenarios to deliver. Final word, I think this is a really good entry in what's been a strong campaign with a twist that works really well and a lot of interesting decisions to be made. That's all for this look. As always, thank you for watching and good luck in your own investigations of the Pallid Mask and the Path to Carcosa cycle. For more Arkham stuff, you can check out the Atlas Agency blog over at atlasofarkham.wordpress.com and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks again.